Hello and welcome to Rathod Science Academy. Today in this session, we are going to discuss current affairs of today's and as well as yesterday's newspaper. So from last 2 days, I'm not uploading this newspaper analysis, right? And many students are messaging me personally and as well as in the comment section also, they're asking me about what is the reason behind this topic of current affairs analysis. So there is nothing much important reason. So actually, we received this World Education Summit Award. So this World Education Summit 2025 held in Delhi on 30th. So in that summit, Rathod's IAS Academy got award under category called as Best UPSC IAS Coaching from Hyderabad. So we went for that summit. So because of this, I didn't able to upload this 2 days current affairs. So from now onwards, from today onwards, as usual, we will be posting that for sure, guys. Okay, I am very happy to announce this for you guys. Okay, so let us start our discussion. Okay, see the first article, guys. Yeah, see the title. Cabinet clears caste enumeration in census. Okay, so what is this article talking about? The keyword is caste census. So please make a note of it. Caste census. So let us break down this caste census. So how many words are there? 2 words. So first one is caste and second one is census. So you might have heard about this word census. What is census? Census is nothing but collection of data, and finally they will give the data of population. So for how many years we will be having census? So for every 10 years, once we will be having this census. So what we'll do in this census, we'll be collecting the data of people and we'll be calculating the number of people who are present in our country. That is a normal census. That is called as population census. But what is this caste census? In this collection of data itself, we'll be taking the data of to which caste they belongs to. For example, we have OBCs, we have OCs, we have SCs, we have STs like that. So whenever they are collecting this data of population itself, there will be a separate column of collecting of this caste also. This is called as caste census. So from which subject we can see this? So here this article is important from your GS paper 2 under polity. Why? Now we are talking about even caste. And even where you'll be seeing about this caste based things in your syllabus. So we have from society and social issues point of view, which comes under your GS paper 1 and GS paper 2 also, we can see this. And next, this article is also important from GS paper 2 under governance point of view. So what is this governance? Governance is nothing but what the government is doing, right? So here, if government wants to come up with any schemes or any policies or any favor towards the people, first it needs to have the data, right? So from where there is a data collection about the people is from your census. And not only that, whenever government wants to uplift this scheduled caste and scheduled tribes also, we need to have this data, right? Especially now, we need to have the data of SCs and STs. So through this caste census, we will be getting that data. So based on that data, government will be spending more or decreasing their expenditure on them, or like that, how government can do with the help of this caste census. So from all these areas, that means from all these subjects, this article is important, guys. So now what you have to see from each and every subject. So in polity, you have to see about topic called as fundamental rights. So where this fundamental rights is located? It is located in part 3 of our Indian Constitution. And which articles talks about this? Article 12 to Article 35 talks about this fundamental rights. And in this Article 12 to Article 35, now you have to focus on Article 17. So what is Article 17 talks about? Untouchability. So untouchability is causing because of caste-based discrimination. Now here collecting the data based on caste so that it can lead to caste-based discrimination. It can also promote untouchability. So Article 17 that you have to see here. And apart from that, we have certain acts or certain laws to prohibit untouchability under this Article 17. So you have to see what are those. For example, have you heard about this SC/ST Atrocities Act? So like that, you have to collect the data regarding what are the acts or what are the laws which are present in our country which are prohibiting this. That is from your polity, guys. And next, from society and social issues, you have to see about caste discrimination or caste-based discrimination, and you have to see what are the causes for this discrimination which is happening based on caste. And next, you have to see what will be the impact. So if caste-based discrimination is happening, obviously that society belonging to that so-and-so caste will be getting depressed, right? So what will be the impact? So in this impact, you have to see impacts on economy, impacts on society, impacts on polity, so impacts on their fundamental rights, okay? So impacts on the standard of living, so all these areas that you can see. And impact on education, impact on poverty, hunger, everything that you have to see, guys. And next, from governance point of view, you have to see what are the measures taken. You have to see what are the measures already taken by the government. So whenever I'm talking about government, in our country we have state government and national central government. So you have to see at the national level what are the steps taken by our central government. At the state level, what are the steps taken by our state government. And even you have to see in India, in which states caste-based discrimination is happening more. So do this work today, that is caste-based discrimination related data. So in which state we have more caste-based discrimination, what are the reasons for this, and what are the different government schemes they came up to control this. Okay, see this. And even you have to think about what are the measures or what is the way forward from your side, what suggestions that you can give. Because you're going to be the future civil servants, right? So you need to get something idea in your back of your mind regarding how we can control this. Okay, you need every man or every person is very unique. They have their own ideas, right? So try to bring back that ideas from the back of your mind so that you can show uniqueness in your paper, guys. Okay, so all these things that you have to see. Now let us see this article clearly why it is in news. So Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs. So please make a note of this. Cabinet Committee on Political Affairs has approved caste enumeration. Enumeration is nothing but counting. Caste-based counting as part of upcoming population census. So actually, if you see the history of census, in 1881 itself census started. That means even before we got independence, during this British period itself, they started census. But at that time, they went for only population census. They didn't went for the caste-based census. Okay. So if you see last population census data that we have, it is from 2011. Okay. That means, as I said, every 10 years, once in every 10 years, we need to have this census, right? That means we have to get this census by 2021 again. But what happened during this 2019, 20 and 21 COVID-19 pandemic? And now we are in which year? 2025. Even now also, we didn't yet started this. We are expecting the census in year 2026. So in the upcoming census of this population in 2026, yes, we are going to have this caste-based census also. That's the thing which is there in news. And what is this caste census? It is a systematic collection of data on caste identities of individuals during national census. So when we are collecting this population census itself, we are also going to collect this caste identities also. And why we need this data? Because our government is providing lot of supportive schemes, policies and measures for this downtrodden societies like SCs and as well as STs. And even for OBCs also, there is 27% of reservation, right? So if you want to focus on social justice, yes, we need this caste data for sure. And we are going to have this in the next census, guys. And if you see what are the legal or constitutional backings regarding this caste census, so there is no specific constitutional provisions which mandates caste census. But in Article 340, yes, it is talking about backward classes, and Article 246, which talks about especially talks about this thing only. And actually, there are about union list, there are about 16 subjects that are present in this 7th schedule, which are talking about the census. Okay, and now tell me what are the needs of this caste census? Why we need this? Especially for providing of affirmative action. Affirmative action is nothing but providing of supportive schemes and policies for this downtrodden people, especially for OBCs and as well as SCs and STs, and even recently economically backward classes also came into picture. So see that. And next one here is for reservation rationalization also we need this, and especially whenever we are having the data regarding the so and so caste people who are having this health issues or anything, we can also provide health and as well as education, proper livelihood for that people. And next one is for women political reservation also, it is very important. And even under Article 5 Class 4, which allows to make special provisions for this backward classes. So under that, yes, we can go for this caste-based census. But here we are having certain challenges if you are going for this caste-based census in our country. So first one here is we are having multiple caste. So for that also, when you want to categorize them, there will be sometimes overlapping. So for example, if you go to one state, one community will comes under ST, and the same community if you go to another state, it comes under another caste, right? So because of this, we are having the loopholes and as well as lots of challenges, and even sometimes that will leads to overlapping of that caste. And this one here is there is lack of standard list. So do we have any standard list for the caste in our country? No, that is one more problem. And this one is many a times we can see there is a political manipulation will also happens. And this one is data is very, very sensitive, and because of this caste only. So if normally if you have watched many, especially old movies, 1990s movies, so they gave lot of priority for the caste. So normally I can recall one scene from very famous movie from Telugu. So two people will be sitting and they are very, very best friends. And but those two people, they belongs to different caste. So if caste comes in between, what happens? The fire will burn between these two people and they will become enemies. That means this caste related data is very, very sensitive. This is also one important problem that we have. And even caste based identities will be deepening in our society if you are collecting the data based on the caste. Okay, so these are some important things that you have to remember from this article, guys. And now let us see the next article. See the title, very, very important article. Title says digital access is part of right to life and liberty, says Supreme Court. So whenever there is any Supreme Court judgment, that will be asked for sure in your prelims and mains case. So this article is talking about one Supreme Court judgment. Okay, so it is regarding KYC. So do you know about this KYC? What is the full form of this KYC? Know your customer. So if you go to any bank and if you want to get any bank account to be done, if you want to open bank account or anything, so first they will ask KYC to be filled off. Yes, that is nothing but know your customer. So actually regarding this KYC, now Supreme Court gave a judgment, and this judgment is related to PWDs. What is the full form of PWDs? Persons with disabilities. Okay, so what is the link between these persons with disabilities, KYCs and digital access? Is there any connection? Tell me, is there any connection, guys? Yes, for example, let us take an example of a person who is not having a vision. Blind person. For example, let me take any person who has clamped his legs, like he can't walk. Person who cannot walk. Okay. So whenever these kind of persons, whenever they are going to any area, for example, if they can't go to any area, so can this KYC done? No. Whenever there is no KYC done, can they open the bank accounts? Can they use apps like us, like PhonePe or any digital apps like Paytm, anything? Can they use? No. So is there fundamental right? Article 21, that is right to life and liberty, is affecting or not? Yes. So especially this PWDs, that is nothing but the physically handicapped people or persons with any disabilities. It may be eye loss, or it may be like vision loss, it may be like can't move anywhere like that. So they are not having this proper KYC. So if they are not having proper KYC, they will be not using this digital apps like us, like Phone Pay, Google Pay, like that. So because of this, their fundamental right, that is right to life and personal liberty, which comes under Article 21, is getting affected. So now Supreme Court said that yes, this right to life and personal liberty, which comes under Article 21, is very important for everyone. So be it like normal people or be it people with disabilities. So we should not violate this right to life and personal liberty of these people with disabilities. And the Supreme Court said that digital access is now the part of Article 21. Okay, so if there is any question regarding this Article 21, so they will be giving you two types of questions, guys. So directly the one type of question is they will ask the judgment about KYC, and they'll ask which article it is affecting. So directly Article 21. So that is a very simple question you can get. Or else you can get, consider the following judgments of Supreme Court, and they'll ask which comes under Article 21. So now it is talking about digital access is a fundamental right, which comes under Article 21, that you know now. So earlier in 2024, there are around 5 to 6 judgments they gave by Supreme Court, which increased the ambit of Article 21. For example, right to sleep, right to be forgotten, right to play outside for children. Okay, so like that, and even right against climate change is also a fundamental right. So they will give you 1, 2, 3, 4 like that, and they'll ask you how many are correct and how many are incorrect like that. So you have to be very much careful about Supreme Court judgments of at least 2 years, guys. Okay, now let us see this article clearly. Supreme Court of India in a case, so please make a note of this case name, Amar Jain versus Union of India and others. Amar Jain versus Union of India and others 2025 ruled that digital access to e-governance and welfare system is an integral part of fundamental right to life and liberty. And not only that KYC of bank accounts, but even you need to have the digital access for sure. So if you are not having digital access, for example, nowadays we are focusing on e-governance. E-governance is nothing but we are using ICT, information communication technology. Okay, for example, to make it simple, I'll give you the example that you know. If you want to get any income certificate or caste certificate, what you'll do, you'll go to nearby Me Seva center and you will be typing everything and you will be applying your form. So what about this visually dispaired people? Can they type everything? Can they get access to that so-and-so e-governance? No. Can they get the certificates on time? No. That means their right is getting affected, right or not? That is the thing which mainly said here. Especially, this article is saying that Supreme Court is giving directions for know your customer access, whether they are accessing every portal or not. We have to take care of that, because right to digital access is also a fundamental right under Article 21. Okay, so what Supreme Court said? So see here carefully. So Supreme Court said that we have to revise digital KYC norms. Okay, we have to now revise what are the KYC norms which are present so far, because whatever the digital norms that are present so far, they are not accessible for this people with disabilities, and we have to make these people to be inclusive under this part. That is the first important thing which mainly said. For example, even we have this facial recognition, yes or no? And even if you go to Tirupati, Tirumala Tirupati temple also, if you're going on this hill, on this walkway, so they'll be taking your photograph and they'll be scanning, right? They'll be identifying the facial recognition there. So for example, if there are any acid attack survivors, so will they get the proper access? No. So that is the one important thing that mainly said here. And next one here is, even Supreme Court instructed RBI and other public entities to ensure accessibility in KYC process. Okay. And next important thing here which mainly said here is, yes, we are also having digital divide. That means rural areas, there is a very less access to these digital platforms, and even if you compare with the youth and senior citizens who will be having more access, youth will be having more access, but senior citizens, they don't have the proper access because improper knowledge or like lack of accessibility, lack of affordability, everything. So here this article is saying that because of all these issues, it is affecting Article 21, and not only that, Article 15, that is nothing but the protection against discrimination, and Article 38 is also getting affected. So here what we can do some advancements in our infrastructure. So we have to make our digital infrastructure inclusive. How? For example, we can promote some assistive technologies, like in the screen itself what is there, they have to read it out. Okay, for example, if you go to any ATM, you can see and you can click it, right? So if a blind person who goes to ATM, can he use? No. So what is appearing in the screen? So that should be voice format, so that he can hear and he can follow the instructions. That is the first thing. That is nothing but we can promote assistive technologies. Now it is very easy, right? So we can go for screen readers, they are called as screen readers, voice commands, and even AI powered tools, we can use them and we can improve our technology. Next one is we can improve digital literacy among the PWDs. So many people, they don't know about their rights, they don't know about what are the government schemes or what are the government initiatives. So we have to go for improving of this digital literacy, and we can assist them to use some AI powered devices, etc. And next one here is we have to go for urban planning. Urban planning is very, very important. Especially now we are thinking about the smart cities mission, right? So in that smart cities, we have to go for public transportation. We have to go for smart lighting, urban spaces like that. We have to do something special for this PWDs so that they can access this government offices. Okay, so that is the thing. And now let us see the next article. Title says, ex-Roche chief appointed head of reconstituted NSAB. Very, very important topic, and you may get question in your 2025 prelims regarding this NSAB. So NSAB is nothing but National Security Advisory Board. Okay, so here the keyword is National Security Advisory Board. So from which subject you can see this? From GS paper 3 under internal security. So here just you have to see about what are the facts regarding this. So no need of remembering that person who had been appointed. That kind of questions UPSC will not focus. But if you are preparing for other examinations, they will be asking for that, sure. But in UPSC, they will be asking about what is this board is about. What are the functions, who are the members, everything. Okay, now let us see the context. So this context is saying that Government of India has reconstituted National Security Advisory Board. Okay, so earlier it was there but dismantled and again reconstituted. Because of this, it is very important. So what is this National Security Advisory Board? It is just advisory board. That means it will be giving advices and will be providing long-term strategic inputs about our national security issues. So what are the national security issues that you are facing? Recently, Pahalgam issue, terror attack. And next, even from China also we are having threats. And even in our country, we are having the problem of Naxalism, Maoism. And not only that, we have the problem of insurgency, right? And even there is a problem of migrants who are coming from other countries and entering into India. And even there is a problem of communal violence. Recently, Meetus and Cookies issue happened. Okay, and even cow vigilantism happens. Cyber attacks will happen, right? So on all these issues, this board will be giving advices so that in the long term, how can we stop that? Okay, and actually, it comprises of experts from various fields. They are outside of government. They are not part of our government. Very important. They are expertise. And this one is when it was established in year 1998. Okay, what is the tenure of the person? So the person will be appointed for 1 year normally. But from 2006 onwards, we are appointing and we are having the tenure of 2 years for that. So what they'll do, they will hold monthly or emergency meetings regarding this national global threats. And this one here is they will be also releasing some independent reports. And this one here is they will be formulating doctrines regarding how we can maintain security in our country. And this one is they also recommend on these topics like defense, cyber, diplomatic and international security issues or internal security issues. And even they will be bridging the gap between the government and as well as academic experts. Okay, so all these things they'll do. And now let us see the next article. Title says India's shame, the trap of bonded labor. So what is the keyword? Keyword is bonded labor. So why this bonded labor article is there in newspaper yesterday? Bonded labor is also called as forced labor. So why this labor is in news yesterday? What is the specialty of May 1st? May 1st is May Day. Yes, labor's people will be celebrating that day, right? So because of this article was in news. So here you can identify if there is any significance of that day. For sure, you'll be getting articles on that day. For example, 21st April, it is Civil Services Day. You will be getting articles regarding civil services. For example, Voters Day, you will be getting articles on that. Environment Day. So here yesterday it is Labor's Day. That is nothing but May Day. So there was an article regarding bonded labor and forced labor. And from which subjects you can see this, guys? Bonded labor or forced labor. Is there any article which talks about this? Yes, it is important from your GS paper 2 under polity, guys. So in polity, again in your fundamental rights, now there are certain articles which talks about rights against exploitation, article 23 and article 24. Okay, article 23 and article 24 talks about rights against exploitation. So you have to see that articles and have to see about related laws and acts in our country. And next you have to see about data. You have to collect data also. Data regarding bonded labor in our country, and not only bonded labor in our country but even other countries also. So Indians who went for bonded labor or forced labor, you have to collect the data. And you have to draw India map and you have to see in which states we have more forced labor or bonded labor. And next you have to see about government measures. Okay, nationally, state level and even at international level also you have to see that. And not only that, you have to see what are the causes, why this forced labor is still happening in our country. Okay, all these things that you have to see. And even you can also expect a case study, GS paper 4 related case study also, guys. So your DSP or your SP or your higher superintendent of police or anything, you find that yes, bonded labor is happening in your so and so area, and what measures you can take, or what are the options that you have before you, and how will you solve this problem, and what is your course of action. If you are aspiring for police services, then you have to be very much clear about what problems there in our society, and you need to have the ready-made solutions from now onwards. Okay, so think in that mindset. So whenever you're getting free time, so don't open your social media platforms or just scrolling of reels like that. So just think about one problem, and you have to think in yourself like what might be the causes, what led to this, what can be done. So like that you can think on yourself so that you can improve your thinking power. Okay, so skills you will be not get in 1 day or 2 days. If you do continuously only, you will be getting that skill, right? So even if you want to make a knife sharp, will it happens in 1 day? No, you have to go for meticulously making that, right? So in the same way, try to give tasks for your brain on everyday basis so that you can understand what miracles that your brain will do. So do it for at least 1 week or 10 days. So try to see the result and try to report me, guys. Okay, now let us see this article. On International Labour Day, so lots of stories regarding this bonded labours are coming out. And one report which says that in India still this bonded labor or forced labor is going on. So it is one of the things which is disturbing our country now. Okay, so now let us see the details of this article. So what is bonded labor? Bonded labor is nothing but the people are forced to work. Forced work extracted under coercion due to debt or advance payments or social obligations, often without clear the time limits. So have you seen many old movies, especially they'll say that grandparents generation, parents generation and present generation, future generation, they have to do that work. Yes. So why? Because they will be taking some debt from them. So to clear that debt, they'll go and they'll work. Not only that present generation, but even future generation also need to work for them. And sometimes they'll be taking some advance payments from that so and so person, and they will make you to work. That is called as forced labor or bonded labor. So here, as I said, Article 23 and 24 talks about rights against exploitation, and Article 23 especially focusing on prohibition of forced labor and beggar. And which article is also getting affected? Article 21, which talks about right to personal liberty. Right to life and personal liberty will be also getting affected. And what are the acts we have? So please make a note. Bonded Labor System Abolition Act of 1976 we have. Okay, and it is criminalizing all forms of bonded labor in our country. And not only that, we have Rehabilitation Scheme of 2016. And under this scheme, actually, we are rescuing around 1.84 crore bonded laborers by 2030. And as of 2021, only 12,760 were rescued. And if you see the data on bonded labor in India, so there are around, see the number, 84 crores. 84 crores as per Ministry of Labor and Employment. It is around, from 2016, the report says that around 84 crore people are working as bonded labor or forced labor in India. And this one here is, according to this act, Rescued and Rehabilitation Act, which says that 12,760 people were only rescued. What about the remaining, the number? See the number, very, very huge. And this one is labor sector composition. So if you see the composition of labor sector, we have organized labor and unorganized labor, right? So around 34 crore, they are in unorganized sector out of 47 crore total workers. So it is according to NSSO report. So you can see like huge amount of population, they are working in unorganized sector. They do not have proper social security benefits also, and no proper labor conditions or no proper work conditions, etc. And this one here is who are affecting in our country. About 80% of bonded laborers, they are from scheduled caste, scheduled tribes and OBC. That means we can also see that caste based discrimination is also happening. One example here is bonded labor or forced labor. Okay, and next one here is why this bonded labor is still prevalent in India. What might be the causes? First one is poverty, next one is indebtedness, and caste-based discrimination is happening in our country, and there is lack of enforcement and lack of data. And even, as I said, 90% of people, they are working in informal sector. It is also one important reason. And this one here is policy gaps, no proper rehabilitation, everything. Clear? And now let us see the next article. So actually in yesterday's paper and today's paper, there are articles regarding natural hydrogen. So I am dealing with these two together. So here this article is talking about natural hydrogen. So please keep the heading natural hydrogen. So as you all know that whatever the energy resources that we are using now, they are from non-renewable energy, right? We are using coal, we are using diesel, we are using petrol. That is nothing but we are using fossil fuels. So because of using of fossil fuels, what is the problem? We are releasing more amount of carbon dioxide emissions into atmosphere. That is leading to air pollution, global warming, climate change. That will further lead to other problems like health problems they are causing, and even fog will happen, increasing of accidents, especially during winter season, and even air quality index is very, very bad. And not only that, even melting of glaciers will happen, everything, right? So here, what is the alternatives that we can use? We can use renewable source of energy. So renewable energy source of energy examples, we have solar, we have wind, etc. But if you want to enhance or if you want to improve this production of solar power energy, is that easy? So huge amount of investments we need, right? We have to set up a land, we have to get the solar panels, and we have to arrange them, and we have to tap the energy. Sometimes we will be getting sun only in the morning time, and evening time there is no sun. And if there is any winter, if there is any rainy day or cloudy, means production will be decreased. Again, it is having uncertainties, right? So if you see in our atmosphere, which gas is more? Nitrogen, next oxygen, next carbon dioxide, and other gases, right? So we are also having huge amount of hydrogen also. So we can tap this hydrogen and we can use this hydrogen. So it is one of the alternate renewable energy source that we can use. That is the thing which is given here. So now tell me from which subject it is important? From GS paper 3 under environment and ecology, where we can see this under renewable energy sources. So here what you have to see about what is this natural hydrogen is about. Okay, and next you have to see what are the applications of this natural hydrogen, and you have to see what are the advantages, and you have to see in hydrogen we have different types of hydrogen. Have you heard about blue hydrogen, green hydrogen, brown hydrogen, like that, gray hydrogen? So you have to see different types. On these types and on these applications, you can get the question from your prelims test. You have to be very much careful. So now let us see this article. So governments and private firms across the globe, they are intensifying the efforts to explore natural hydrogen because it is having the low cost, because it is freely available in the atmosphere, and even the emissions will be zero emissions released. Okay, that is the thing. Because of this natural hydrogen is in use. And recently France came up with this idea, and they are tapping more and more amount of hydrogen to use it as a fuel. So because of this now, governments and private firms, they are looking about regarding that, so that we can make fuel efficiency. So natural hydrogen is nothing but H2. H2 is the molecular form of hydrogen, and that naturally occurs underground due to geological process. Okay, and it is a clean burning, non-polluting and potentially renewable source of energy that we can use. So what are the features of this? We can release zero emissions. That's one advantage, right? And this one is low cost and even sustainable because it is available in our atmosphere. And this one is, if you are using that, we will be having more efficiency also. And we have different shades of hydrogen. We have green hydrogen, blue hydrogen, turquoise hydrogen, gray hydrogen, brown hydrogen. So green hydrogen is nothing but electricity from renewable sources. We are using electrolysis process, and we are breaking water into hydrogen and oxygen. So that hydrogen is called as green hydrogen. Next one is blue hydrogen. So we are using natural gas and we are using steam reformation, and it is captured and it is stored. It is called as blue hydrogen. And turquoise is nothing but it is produced using natural gas via pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is nothing but heating of air in the absence of oxygen. Okay, and by this process we are separating methane. What is the formula of methane? CH4. So we are separating this methane into hydrogen and carbon dioxide. So this process, whatever the hydrogen we are getting, that is called as turquoise hydrogen. And this one is gray hydrogen. So in this gray hydrogen also, we are using the same process in this blue, that is steam reformation. But here, whatever the byproducts like emissions we are getting, we will be capturing here in the blue. But in the gray, there is no capture of carbon storage. Carbon capture and carbon storage is not there. Only we will be capturing hydrogen, what we are getting. And this one is brown, means instead of using natural gas, we will be, okay, so instead of this is produced using coal. So we are using directly coal here. And in this coal also will be having the carbon content and the sulfur dioxide contains and H2S, right? So by burning this coal, what are the hydrogen is getting? We are capturing this. It is called as brown hydrogen. So in the first one, we are using electrolysis and we are breaking water, H2O into hydrogen plus oxygen. It is called as green. And here we are using natural gas and we are using method called as steam reformation. And we are even capturing whatever the carbon which is coming out. But in the turquoise, we are using natural gas, but we are using process called as pyrolysis. Pyrolysis is nothing but heating. And in this gray, we are using the same process, but here we are capturing this carbon, but here there is no carbon capture and carbon storage. We are directly releasing that carbon into atmosphere. So it is called as gray. And in this brown, we are using directly the coal. Okay. So here water. And in this 3 gas, in this we are using coal. That is the difference between these 5 types of or 5 shades of hydrogen, and it's very, very important, guys. Okay, now let us see the next article. Title says Modi champions orange economy at Waves. So there are again very important keywords in this article. First one is orange economy and next one is Waves Summit. Okay, Waves Summit, and second one is orange economy, and you have to know that. And this topic is important from your international relations from GS paper 2, and especially you will be getting prelims based question. Keep star mark for this prelims based question. You may get question regarding orange economy or waves, and this year students who are going to write the prelims, focus on this orange economy. Don't blame me if you are not doing it right after that examination. So Waves, it is a global summit for media and entertainment industry. And which ministry is organizing this? Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, very important. And what is this aim of the summit? It is to bring together industry leaders, stakeholders, innovators, and they want to address what are the challenges, and they want to explore the prospects, and they want to promote global trade. Okay, that is the thing. And what is Orange Economy? Orange Economy, it is the creative economy. It is about the knowledge-based sector involving creation, involving production, distribution of creative goods and services. Okay, so have you heard about this blue economy? Blue economy is related to water. It is related to fisheries. What are the things that you are getting from water? And this orange economy is regarding creation, creativity, innovation, production of creative goods and services. What are the economies that you are getting from that is called as orange economy. For example, advertising. So in advertising markets, they have to create some new ideas. Have you seen this movie? Very small movie, Uyala Jampala. In that movie, that person, hero, who will be getting job at last because he is having some innovative ideas using this Ramayana and Mahabharata to advertise about so and so concepts. Okay, so here advertising, and this one is architecture, arts, related to fashion or any film or any music, photography, publishing, R&D and software. Okay, so in these areas, they'll be using some creativity, right? So based on that creativity, if they are generating any economy, that is called as orange economy. Okay, so that is about this orange economy. And there is one more article. Yeah, see here. Protect vulnerable people from summer heat, says NHRC's 2 states. What is the keyword? NHRC, that is National Human Rights Commission. And one more keyword is heat waves. So what is happening now? There is increased heat, especially in Delhi. The heat is very, very high. So whenever the heat is very high, what happens? Is that good for your body? No, dehydration happens. That means you need to properly hydrate your body, right? So now NHRC is saying that because of this heat wave also, many people will be dying. So here in this second paragraph, they gave the data. So if you want, you can make a note of this data. National Crimes Record Bureau reported that around 3,798 deaths happened between 2018 to 2022 because of this heat and sunstroke. So because of this, we have to take proper steps. And who should be very much careful? Especially elderly people, they have to be very much careful. And children and the people who are working outside, for example, construction workers or street vendors, etc., they'll be working outside, right? So they have to be very much careful. And even homeless people who are beggars. Okay, so for them, yes, we need to provide the proper resource and proper shelter for them. That is the thing which mainly said. And especially this letter was written to which states? Like Punjab, Haryana, UP, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal, Odisha, Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, Maharashtra and Rajasthan. So for all these states, they gave a warning signal. Okay, clear? See whether your state is there or not. Karnataka is not there, guys. Yeah, see here, same article. Yesterday, one article came regarding caste census, and now today's paper said about the analysis of that. I dealt with that very much clearly, no need of seeing that article. And next, see here one image. What is this image? It is about bull taming sport. It is very much famous. It is called as Jallikattu. So you have to see about some facts regarding that kind of events. Whenever you are getting certain kinds of dances, certain kinds of art forms, architecture and news, yes, you have to see that for sure. So Jallikattu is also known as Manchiviratu. So see that pronunciation. Next one here is, it is a bull taming sport which is famously seen in this Jallikattu belt. And Jallikattu belt areas are like Madurai, Tiruchirappalli, Theni, Padukottai, Dindigul districts. And normally it is celebrated in the second week of January during this Tamil harvest festival called as Pongal. And it is around 2000 years old sport. Okay, so actually there is some issue which is going on regarding this Jallikattu. And even Supreme Court banned this. But again, Tamil Nadu state government came up with its own law and they started again this. Okay, so these are the things which are there in our today's newspaper. And one more thing I want to share here is As a part of this World Education Summit, we also went for a tour in the nearby areas like Delhi and even Nagra. So I shot some important moments and as well as some important architecture point of view. I recorded some videos. So I will be also making that as part of shorts and I will be uploading in our YouTube channel. So stay tuned guys, and if you want to get the more videos which will be helpful in your preparation, so please do subscribe to our channel and please do hit the bell icon and please like this class and share this class. Don't forget guys.